Reese's peanut butter cups are the greatest, but let me play devil's advocate here. Let's see. So, no, that's a good thing. That's definitely not a problem. Reese's, you did it. You stumped this charming devil.
Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, Hispanic and Latin American Heritage Month arrives. More details at Tiana's. Agatha Harkness comes to the resort.
Pumpkin painting and carving coming to Pixar Place. We talk about 7 years of DL Weekly and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Buenos dias, señorita. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter. Oh, look at all the people listening. Welcome to DL Weekly's Enchanted Podcast. Hey, Tag and Teresa, mi amigos. Pay attention, it's showtime.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of September 25th, 2024. I'm Teresa Urban.
And I'm Tag Bushman. We'd like to thank everyone who supports the show. This week, we'd like to give a special shout out to Catherine H. for increasing your support, and recognizing Chrysanthi T., Whitney C., and Sandra A. for continuing to be supporters. If you would like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, and a bunch of other perks, one of the things that the supporter-only chat did this week is a bunch of our supporters got together and hung out in the parks together.
They did.
On kind of like because we talked about the 7-year anniversary, and they're like, look, we're hanging out together. So if you want to be part of that, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
Now let's get to the news.
Extra, extra, read all about it. DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
Disneyland is celebrating Hispanic and Latin American Heritage Month through October 15th. Special food and entertainment, including the Torta Cubano at Rancho del Zocalo and a Torta del Milisana and stuffed pan dulce at Award Wieners. The Downtown Disney Live Stage has a Pacifico Dance Company, Son Habana, a mariachi quartet, and DJs. A food truck that is serving traditional Salvadorian pupusas is also near the live stage. A window display on Main Street at the Emporium rounds out the offerings.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this with the foodie guide, I want to say last week or a couple weeks ago. So we've already talked about the 2 different tortas and, of course, the stuffed pan dulce.
Which still all look delicious.
These tortas, man, I liked the torta I had. It wasn't one of these, but we had one at the...
That's right. We had one ages ago.
At the Paradise Garden Grill. And it was very good. So, of course, Rancho is a great spot to have it. Of course, Award Wieners is the only thing that's kind of weird, because I would have expected this also to be back in that Paradise Gardens area or San Francisco, which I guess is more Asian now, except for the one restaurant.
All sorts of deliciousness. The thing that I always love, and I even more so adore when Disney puts a focus on it, is entertainment. So the fact that there's all sorts of entertainment happening at the Downtown Disney Live Stage to help with the celebrations would be crazy fun. If anybody gets to go, please let us know what you think of the different performances and the different bands and groups that will be there. Come on, how fun. Again, I feel like I say this weekly, probably monthly. I love that they have this amazing entertainment happening at Downtown Disney so that it's available and open to everyone, and it's not behind the park turnstiles so that you have to have a ticket to be able to go in and experience this. This would be such a fun date night or just friends get together, meet up kind of night to go check these things out. So very, very cool.
The window that is at the Emporium on Main Street also looks really great. I always think, obviously when they come up with a new land like Galaxy's Edge, you hear about the Imagineers going and finding artifacts and stuff to make it look like a certain theme or whatever. But this is nice because this is somebody obviously went out and found a bunch of stuff that has to deal with Hispanic and Latin American heritage and kind of made this nice little display. There's a bunch of pottery, some stuff that looks like some news clippings, obviously some blankets and clothing and stuff that's all in there. And they've all got labels that look like they're all in Spanish, which is nice to go along with the whole theme. So it's nice to see something being refreshed at the Emporium windows as well, and it's great that it's themed to this special event that's through the middle of next month.
Yeah, such a fun way to celebrate.
Yeah. There's also, we didn't mention, but there's a mural in Downtown Disney called Love and Traditions which is there through November 2nd that celebrates Dia de los Muertos. And this is along the side where the security entrance is, and there's the restrooms. It's on the wall there. I hope they have something in this space all the time, because this is a really nice-looking mural.
That's what I was thinking, too. So first of all, the mural itself is gorgeous, but I got extra excited, or the same level of excited, as the placement for where this mural is, because we have not, this is on, like Tig mentioned, the new entrance into downtown Disney.
The nice new entrance, the hotel entrance.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. The new entrance that's kind of facing the parking lot, I guess would be the best way to describe it. That has all of the fun theme. It's very mid-century modern looking over there. It feeds right into the new green space with the Disney Live stage. If you haven't gone and check it out, please do so, because it's gorgeous. They did a really nice job. But that's what got me so, I was so excited that they have that display there, because this is, I think, the first time that we've had a seasonal display in that specific spot. So, yay! I love it.
Yeah, it's really colorful. With the opening of Tiana's Bayou Adventure just around the corner, there are more details popping up. The Lightning Lane wait time signage has been installed. The main entrance sign was hung above the old barn entrance. And a celebration banner has been installed in the attraction by the second lift hill. Cast member previews are rumored to begin on October 22nd, with the attraction opening to the public on November 15th.
Okay. Tell me you're a Disneyland nerd without telling me you're a Disneyland nerd. Ridiculously excited to see this project kind of wrapping up. I love when we report on stuff like this where it's look at the new signs that they post, just nerdy, weird stuff that the average visitor probably wouldn't have noticed wasn't there and is soon there. But anyways, these look very, very nice. It's really fun to see this whole project kind of coming to a close. I'm very excited for the cast members that get to go and experience this first before it opens, of course, to the public. I just think it's gorgeous. Some of the sneak peeks that people have from over the construction walls, like the sign, I don't know, the Tiana's Bayou Adventure entrance sign is beautiful. There's all these little details on different lighting that looks like stained glass. It just looks really gorgeous. I'm very excited to see what it looks like fully with all the walls down.
Yeah, I think that this looks really nice, and if the queue area is any indication, the attraction itself should be pretty cool when it opens. It looks like a lot of the finishing touches, there's really not any scaffolding up left on the mountain really anywhere, or the salt mine hill or whatever you're calling it now. So the outside looks like it's pretty much done. They're just mainly working on the queue section, it looks like. And who knows what the inside looks like, because we haven't gotten any of that yet. But I assume that that's also pretty far along, if not completed at this point.
Yeah, it's probably completed at this point, because I think we've reported that there's been logs going through with people, like Imagineers and stuff. I'm sure they're trying to make sure the timing of everything is correct and the lighting, putting on those final touches. Something that I just realized, so the Walt Disney World version had a mural painted on the entrance building. There does not appear to be any hint or any structures indicating, that somebody will be painting a mural on our building. So that might be a difference between the two attractions. The other thing I noticed too is the window that's on the front entrance building. I'm trying to remember, there was in previous years, there's always been a window on this building. I've seen there was a Christmas tree that was sticking out of it.
That's what pops out to my head too.
That's the only thing that I can remember to kind of jog anyone's memory of what I'm talking about window-wise. So they've got the painting, I love the colors, it's very fun, but the thing that I'm really excited about is that the window itself appears to have pastel stained glass sections to it, so it looks really pretty.
Yeah. I'm almost wondering, they haven't said this, and this is just my guess, maybe, and I could be completely wrong, but you're talking about the mural. I feel like the interior of this section, they could have a mural inside.
That could be.
I don't know, but because we don't have a mural, in fact, it looks like there's this section here that looks like the vines and starting to be growing up, which would be nice. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for this to open up and finally get to see what everything looks like, and I'm really excited. I know it's really silly, but I've been watching David on Fresh Bake on YouTube, construction videos of this for as long as it's been going on, and I want to know what that covered portion of that used to be out in the open is. What part of the attraction is that?
Sure.
So I'm very excited to see that. He also pointed out a few weeks ago, and I don't think we talked about this at all, but there is a back part of the flume that you can see from the Adventureland treehouse that has a giant sign on the attraction, and David is not very happy with it because you could see it from outside the attraction. It seems really weirdly...
Sure.
Like the scale and everything seems a little off. We'll have to see. I assume just like everything else, we're starting to get there. A few years ago when they created the train tracks in the back of, or they rerouted the train tracks for Galaxy's Edge, I remember thinking, it'll be so nice when all the trees get, older. We're starting to finally get there with that. I assume with Tiana's that we'll get to that point, too, where you won't see a lot of that stuff from outside the attraction. It's just, you gotta wait for time to happen and nature to happen. But it looks really beautiful. Better... I don't know if it's better than I thought it would be. It's just different. I find myself not missing the tree stump at the top as much as I did when it first went away.
I still think it was a missed opportunity to not have Mama Odie's house stuck in that tree, but that's okay.
The other thing,
I've moved on.
The other thing that I'm seeing here that's different is I think that because of the close quarters of our drop, I'm not seeing the hanging bottles like in Disney World.
Yeah, someone was... I don't remember where I saw it now, so please forgive me, but I did see somebody was watching, had either video or still images of the attraction at night, and it does appear that there are still the bottles there.
Okay.
They're just not as close to the opening as Walt Disney World's.
Sure.
Time will tell once the attraction's open and we can actually see, because perhaps maybe that was other lighting that they were seeing sneaking out of the opening of the salt mine there, but...
Okay. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm just excited to see it finally open in a couple months and finally stop the speculation of everything and just see it.
Just see it.
Yep.
Well, many weekly tiers will be carving pumpkins for Halloween season, but guests to the Pixar Place Hotel can watch as award-winning pumpkin carver and painter Josef Jakovetic paints pumpkins. Next month, he will carve pumpkins at the hotel.
So this is kind of neat, right? Like,
I love it.
Our good friend Terry Hardin, she does a pumpkin carving thing, but that's not at Disneyland. So it's kind of neat that this is going to be at the Pixar Place Hotel. And he's done a lot of cool stuff. I was zoomed in on the Mice Chat thing that had a description of him, and it said that he's an award-winning pumpkin carver and painter. He's an accomplished artist with award-winning art installations showcased at several Disney parks and resorts. He's appeared on Access Hollywood, Telemundo, Univision, Entertainment Tonight, and was featured as a finalist on Halloween Wars' 5th season, where he created inspirational pumpkin works of art.
Some of the photos of the painted pumpkins that he has already completed that Mice Chat shared. Let's see, we've got Jack Jack. I thought that was cute. Baby Jack Jack. We also have
Lightning
McQueen from Cars and Miguel from Coco. Super cute.
It looks really cool. I'm
very
really
detailed too.
Excited to see his carved pumpkins, because painting is great, and I think it's very he's very skilled at that. But there's something very unique to carving a pumpkin. You know what I mean?
Well, and there's so many different ways to do carving. You can do like carving where you actually are like creating holes in the pumpkin, but then there's also what Terry does, which is more sculpting, and so it's almost like a 3D image type thing that you create on the pumpkin. And then there's also just, what is it called, where you just shave it so that you just make the layers thin. So it's kind of in between carving and sculpting, where you just sit
I would have called that
and,
sculpting as well.
Yeah, it's probably more like sculpting than it is carving, but it's not as three-dimensional as what the sculpting can be. So I'm curious to see what his style is, and maybe it's a blend of all three.
Maybe. We'll have to wait, and if anybody goes and sees him, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Agatha Harkness from WandaVision and the new Disney Plus series Agatha All Along has a line of merchandise that has hit the parks. The items are themed to the 3 goddesses, which are mentioned in the show. There are mini ears, drink tumblers, and teas.
I love this. So Agatha is in character form, however, she's only during Oogie Boogie Bash in a treat trail, and she is in her new outfit. Previous versions of Agatha that have been at Oogie Boogie Bash were like a Agatha outfit from WandaVision. This now she's in an Agatha outfit from Agatha All Along. Vern and I both started this series, and oh, Disney, you do this. You give us like a couple of episodes and then we have to wait. And I just am I'm on the edge of my seat because, of course, they always like cut it off at a cliffhanger type moment. So,
well, the other thing is it always comes out on Tuesdays. It's a Tuesday release, isn't it? So while we're recording this for you guys, we're delaying ourselves from being able to see Agatha. I've only seen the first episode.
You didn't watch the first two?
I watched the first one, and it was later in the evening when we watched it, so we didn't end up catching the second one. And I wasn't as...
You need to watch the second episode.
But I wasn't as like drawn in as I was...
You will be.
With previous stuff. And I love Agatha. I'm really excited to kind of see this.
You will be.
Anyway, the merch.
The merch. Super, super fun. I really, of course, love the ears. It's got these purples and teals and this like black bow that almost looks like lace, but it's all in black. And then the emblem in the middle is, of course, the three goddesses. Love, love, love. Love the colors.
I love this Agatha tumbler.
Yeah.
I don't need any more cups of anything, but I love purple.
that has become your go-to merch pickup thing, hasn't it?
No.
As you're sitting here with
my Imaginary Behind the Dreams bottle, yeah.
That you got at D23.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And the one I've been taking to work is the one from Disneyana that we got.
See, we all have our things, Tag. It's okay.
I just am here for all of the purple. The MiceChat article also talked about some of the Scarlet Witch color story collection, which has been around for a while.
No,
but
this
I like this.
Not super long. This is new this year. There was a different version of Scarlet Witch stuff.
These ears are cool.
I like this second version, I think, better than the first version,
Me too.
if I do say so myself. Especially the ears. They look so good. And I'm not a big Spirit jersey person, but there's something about this Spirit jersey. Maybe it's the like script and the fact that it's shiny, the Scarlet Witch on the back there. I think what I like about this is Scarlet Witch is just across your back. It doesn't also go like down your arms like some Spirit jerseys do. And again, I like the colors. It's mostly like a crimson red, and then it fades into like a black onto the sleeve.
And yet another water bottle.
And yet another water bottle is also available.
Stop it, Disney.
So many good things. See, they're getting me with ears, now they're getting you with water bottles. It's okay.
Later
you should
on,
be well hydrated.
In the discussion topic, I have a photo that we should have told us something about the future, and we'll get to that.
Oh, no. Well, the little man of Disneyland, Patrick Begora, has decorated for the Halloween season. A tiny little jack-o'-lantern pumpkin has appeared outside of the entrance to his little home in Adventureland.
I was just telling Teresa that I thought this was funny because she put this in as a news story. There's literally 2 sentences and 1 photo about this.
It's newsworthy.
It is cute. I did see in the comments on this post that we have linked to the show notes of people talking about covering this aspect because of as part of the news, because this guy's like, I don't really get too involved in anything, but I always stop by and see the door to Patrick Begora. I'm like, oh, of course.
See, he's one of, he's the Disneyland nerds probably most infamous resident. Everybody knows Mickey, everybody knows Minnie and Goofy. You can go see their homes, but true Disneyland nerds know of Patrick Begora. And where you can find his tiny little home. I just love that they I still just can't get over that they created his tiny little home in Adventureland. It's so
there
good.
are guests, according to the article, there are guests that make decorations for his house. This is not one of them. Disney did this one.
Yeah, I've seen that before where we've gone and looked at it, and there's like things that guests have left for Patrick.
Are you going to bring something? An offering?
You know what I've done? I've actually hidden DL Weekly pins over there.
He probably comes out and goes, "What is this?"
It's like, who's putting this stuff here? Yeah. But yeah, I've hidden DL Weekly pins at Patrick Begora's home. During the holidays, there's like little tiny like Christmas lights and a wreath that come out. It's it's not something that they have to do, but they do it, and I love it.
Such enthusiasm for one little jack-o'-lantern. Anyway, guests trying to book lightning lanes, use mobile checkout, mobile ordering, or shop on DisneyStore.com Monday were unable to. Disney's payment processing was unavailable until about 9:54 a.m. Disneyland time when the systems came back online.
This was pretty wild. Thankfully for Disneyland, it didn't have too big enough of an effect on people's days as far as I'm just trying to wrap my head around if I went to Disneyland and suddenly I wasn't able to use either my card or my app to pay for things, because that's what I use. I use credit card or I pay through the app for everything. I don't carry cash on me. So I'm thinking it was a huge inconvenience. I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. Definitely an inconvenience because all the folks trying to get their lightning lanes purchased right first thing in the morning, breakfast, whatever. There was still an inconvenience, but I'm thinking,
I heard
what if this would have gone
using lightning lanes.
Yeah, what if this would have gone on for the entire day though? And you couldn't get merch, you couldn't get food, drinks, all day. How awful. So I'm glad they got it resolved as quickly as they could, but this blew my mind.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. One thing that I did think was interesting was they did have there's some photos in the article we have linked showing what the error was in the Disney World app and the Disneyland app. Mm-hmm. They said some of our payment options aren't available. Only PayPal is available. I'm like, I don't remember. Maybe you can pay with PayPal, and I just have never noticed because I just skip right on by to what I need to. But, man, that's a big deal. And the fact that they were linked also to the DisneyStore.com, it's not just a parks thing.
Yeah.
The other question is, could you pay, I didn't see this in the article, could you pay in the park? If you went to a cashier, could you pay with card, or was it literally cash only everywhere?
I think it was cash only.
Well, that's certainly interesting. So I'm sure cast members were loving that first thing in the morning. I will say I'm not very upset that people couldn't buy my lightning lanes and stuff like that, but
I'm upset because there's stuff that they couldn't have bought, like Photo Pass. What if this was the one day that they were going to be able to be in the park and they needed to do a lightning lane for them to be able to experience all the things? I know we're not fans personally of lightning lane and using lightning lane and just the system itself and what it does to overall flow. But I still feel bad because there are people that I understand.
I just want you to know while we're kind of talking about this. So James brought up to me because we were trying to do a trip with our exchange student next year, actually, beginning of next year. And James was like, do we need to get Lightning Lane or Genie Plus or whatever for it? And I said, no. And he said, what do you mean no? And I said, no, we're never buying that. And he's like, well, what? I mean, we could probably save some money by going a day less if we did the Genie Plus or Lightning. And I said, I'd pay more to go the extra day because I do not support this.
However, in James's defense, the last time you took exchange students, you did purchase Lightning Lane.
That's because we literally had the one day, but this time we have power over that. So
I'm just saying.
I just wish it wasn't there. Or I actually like your idea better. Just raise the price of it. Yeah. We were actually looking at Universal tickets as well, and the Universal, like you've brought up numerous times, the Universal one is very expensive. In fact, did you know this?
Expensive.
Okay, I apologize, DL Weekly people. I'm going to talk about Universal for just a minute because I thought this was fascinating. Did you know there was an article about this, and then somebody in our Hub Crawl chat came in and said they used this hack. So in Florida, if you book a hotel at Universal, you get the hop the lane thing either cheaper or for free with whoever's staying with you in the room or whatever, and you get earlier access to it or something. Anyway, people are booking hotel rooms at Universal, not staying there, but using it to get access to the thing.
So they're paying for a hotel room that they're not staying?
Yeah. Give me one.
I don't know if that's that good of a hack.
No. There was a whole explanation. Give me 1 second. I want to find...
Well,
here it is.
I can tell you this right now. They're going to figure this out, especially since people are sharing it, and they're going to close that loophole.
Okay, so the person said, here's a condensed version of the tips. You only need one night at a premium resort. Your express pass is good from early entry through closing on your checkout day. So that's 2 full days for the price of one night's hotel for as many people as you can legally fit in the room. You'll get the most value booking for 4+ people in the room. One person can pick up everyone's passes, have the early bird in your party take the Uber Lyft to the premium resort to check in at 7 a.m. They can meet the rest of the party later. If you're interested in a midday pool break, you can go back and use the pool and stuff like that. You can check out via text message, so you don't even have to go back. And to have 4+ people in your party, otherwise it doesn't really make sense financially to get that. And I was like, that is so crazy to me that it is saving that. Because they said they saved about $2,000 for 5 people booking this one room because they would have had to pay extra for the express pass thing. I don't know. It was
my brain
crazy.
doesn't even my brain's not even wrapping around it. That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, so then it got me thinking. I'm like, wow. Well, Disneyland. I've never heard anything weird and wacky like that at Disneyland, but crazy. Anyway.
With the $5 meal deal at McDonald's, you pick a McDouble or a McChicken, then get a small fry, a small drink, and a 4-piece McNuggets. That's a lot of McDonald's for not a lot of money.
Price and participation may vary. For a limited time only.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I, up, down, touch the ground. I think of things to chew, like honey and milk and chocolate. With a hefty, happy appetite, I'm a hefty, happy poo. A rumbly in my tumbly means it's time for snacks.
Well, this week for Snack Chat, we are continuing our tour because we're in that weird period where there's not a bunch of foodie guides for once.
Shh, that's because they're all active. Go eat all of the good things.
But when you get done with all your foodie guide stuff, you may want to just eat at some of the regular restaurants, so we're covering that. And we have made our way around to the Stage Door Cafe, which is between the Riverbell Terrace and the Golden Horseshoe. It's kind of tucked away in that like little corner if you didn't know where it was, because it's definitely one of those things where I feel like you could easily miss it.
That's true. I'm like, this is wild to me. This is eye-opening. This is a much bigger menu than I thought it would be. Of course, we've got seasonal offerings, and there's some offerings still left over from Pride that they've got. But even like the magic key holder offerings and entrees, there's more here than I thought there was. So that's very exciting. We'll quickly go through just what the regular offerings are, since we've probably covered all of the seasonal offerings
in the foodie guides.
Yep, in the foodie guides. So I'm just going to start with what the current magic key holder offerings are here. These are, again, just for magic key holders, but we have 2 different a tumbler and a sipper. Actually, maybe I should have let you intro this, Tag, since we've learned that beverage containers are your new thing. We've got the Magic Key Villain stainless steel tumbler, which we've seen this. It's gorgeous. And there's also the Magic Key mirrored Mickey shape sipper that's currently available at Stage Door Cafe.
I'm trying to pull up the mobile order quick because I am. Unlike you, I'm not as good at remembering what this zipper thing looks like.
I think maybe it burned itself in my memory because I thought it was... It's purple. I remember that.
Okay.
And it's got like the villain silhouettes on it.
The steel tumbler's got to be a good one because it's $30.50, which is a little pricey for these type of special offerings usually. But then anyway, on to the regular entrees. There's a Caesar wrap, which I don't think I ever paid attention to this menu at all. I thought all they had was like the next 2 items that are on the list. I didn't know that they also had a Caesar wrap on there. And then they also have chicken tenders, which comes with fries and a choice of dipping sauce, and a hand-dipped corn dog with cuties, oranges, or a small bag of chips.
I'm with you. I never paid attention that there was a Caesar wrap here. However, now reading the description of this, holy delicious sounding. This is going on the list of things that I want to try. Typically, the times that I've grabbed food from this location, it's because I'm hankering for a corn dog, and I really want a corn dog. So
it's not my first location I go there, though.
Well, but if we're on that side of the park and I really want a corn dog and other people are feeling other things on that side, that's usually when I stop there for a corn dog.
That's a massive corn dog.
And then the chicken tenders, I have not had them here, but I've heard fantastic things that they're like, you know how there's like chicken tenders and then there's like great, awesome chicken tenders? I've heard that these ones are really, really delicious.
Are they the really awesome ones?
Yeah, so they're the ones that instead of it being kind of like an oversized chicken nugget, it's an actual breaded piece of the chicken. Do you know what I mean? Like It's an actual tender that's been breaded.
I do want to, since we're talking about the chicken tenders, they do have 2 seasonal offerings right now, a hot honey tender and a buffalo sauce chicken tender. So you can get those things in a totally different form factor, if you will.
If you're craving something sweet, they do have a classic funnel cake with powdered sugar and whipped cream, as well as a strawberry funnel cake that comes with strawberry sauce, powdered sugar, and whipped cream.
See, for some reason, I thought the Stage Door Cafe only had funnel cakes and corn dogs. And maybe chicken tenders.
Maybe it's changed.
But it's good that they have some more options there. And I feel like there's not usually a huge line over here either. So if you want something quick, and
I don't know.
It's on mobile order.
I'm still just thinking about that Caesar wrap, so there's
Might have to try
pizzas in there.
The white beans is the only thing I'm not excited
kernels.
about.
I bet you wouldn't even, like, with all the delicious other flavors going on here,
you could
may
be
not
correct.
even notice. This sounds very similar to the Caesar salad that I had at Rancho. Not entirely identical, but similar. And oh, that was so good. So good. All right, well, moseying on over to the Golden Horseshoe. Of course, they have various seasonal offerings going on there as well. We will not go through those since we've talked about those in previous foodie guides. Same thing, the Magic Key Holder offerings here are similar. We've got the Villain Stainless Steel Tumbler. There's the Magic Key Mirrored Mickey Shape Sipper. There is a Magic Key Thermo Tumbler that comes with the ice cream float sampler, and there's also the Magic Key Mickey Ear Hat Bowl. So a couple more things for Magic Key holders here. However, we discussed this last week. This is the place that you get that 3 ice cream float sampler for $8.99. So again, that's 1 traditional Barks Root Beer float, 1 Coca-Cola float with grenadine syrup and maraschino cherries, and 1 Sprite float with grenadine syrup and maraschino cherries.
This looks like it's got a lot of the same things that the Stage Door has, because it's got the Caesar wrap and the chicken tenders.
I don't remember that. I remember them having 2 separate menus, so it's a good thing that we're talking about. My memory of what these were versus what these are is not the same. I put them both together because, like you, I remembered Stage Door having a very brief menu and Golden Horseshoe having a more expanded menu.
I don't know why, but I thought Golden Horseshoe had like hamburgers at one time, but I don't see that on the menu now. Although I do see this house-made chocolate chunk cookie sundae.
There you go.
That looks ridiculous. Look at this.
Vern got that.
Did he?
When we went for Star Wars night.
Whew.
Vern got that, yeah. He was all excited.
It's like a scoop of vanilla ice cream on top of a cookie with 2 cookies shoved to the side, so it looks like Mickey ears.
Oh, but it's a warm, rich triple chocolate chunk cookie made with brown butter tag. Even better. And then you can also get some fun beverages over here. They have a Roy Rogers, which is Coca-Cola with grenadine syrup and maraschino cherries, as well as a Shirley Temple, which of course is Sprite with grenadine syrup and maraschino cherries. How fun is that? That makes more sense as to why those are also float offerings too.
And at one time they had a Doc 360 float here, but they don't anymore.
They did.
Because
They did.
We're going to try to get it.
And, going even further back, there used to be this amazing thing there called entertainment. They had this awesome stage show.
I was waiting for you to talk about some food thing, and then you were like, entertainment. And I was like, you.
They used to have awesome entertainment. Like, way back, it used to be like this full, like, cool stage show review thing, right? The Golden Horseshoe review. And then it got scaled back to just being a piano, like a ragtime piano player.
They had the dueling pianos for a while.
And yeah, now it's nothing. But, it
caught
does
me
still
off
have
guard.
awesome AC. So if you need a break from the heat.
And good seating.
Pop into the Golden Horseshoe. Yes, lots of good seating and, of course, shaded since it's indoors.
Yeah.
If you enjoy listening to the show, please consider rating and reviewing the show on your podcast app. It helps other Disney fans become weekly tiers and part of the community.
DL Weekly announces the boarding of the Trivia Express, non-stop star speeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Welcome to Trivia Land, where we've got 4 regular round listener-submitted questions and an extra bonus question for you. How are you feeling tonight? Do you have some great knowledge in your heads?
We've got 5 questions, so we've got higher odds of getting at least one right.
We're going to do great, Vern. We are highly knowledgeable, podcasting professionals.
You have
Yes,
7
we've been doing
years
this for 7 years.
I was just that's exactly what I was saying. 7 years experience.
Not
at
7
this.
years worth of
You
Trivia
are
Land, though.
Seasoned pros at this point, and I expect nothing less than perfection. So let's see how you do. Your first listener submitted question from listener Stacia S. How many topiary animals and characters are at Disneyland Resort? And when I was double checking on this one, I found conflicting reports, so I'm going to give you grace of up to 2, one way or the other.
Okay, so my brain immediately goes to It's a Small World.
Yep. Are there other topiaries?
I'm going to say there's a dozen.
Are there other topiaries?
Well, does the floral Mickey count? That's not really a topiary, but it's planted in the shape of something. Okay. There's faux topiaries at the Disneyland Hotel of Mickey and Minnie.
I'm going to say... You think there's a dozen at Small World?
That's my guess.
I'm going to say... I'm going to be way wrong. I'm going to say 8.
I'm just gonna stick with a dozen.
Okay, I'm going to say 8.
Take's saying 8 total.
And Teresa's saying a dozen total, right?
And Teresa's saying a dozen total.
I just feel like I'm forgetting some topiaries somewhere.
There's I feel like I might be. That's why we're in Trivia Land Tag, to learn.
Sure.
Is there one back by Minnie's house? Maybe. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out.
All right, so final answers 8 and 12.
Yes.
Alrighty. Your second regular round question from listener Sarah P. The Wedway People Mover was not originally meant for Disneyland. What was the reason for its design?
Oh, the Ford Magic Skyway at the 6465 World's Fair.
Yes. I concur.
All right, final answer.
Yes.
All right. And your third regular round question from listener Kavei S. Which of the gods of the Enchanted Tiki Room is the father of all gods and goddesses?
That's the one
and
that
he
you
took
thought.
the form of a tree.
What's the one that you said last time? It's that one. Maui, we learned, is the time.
Uh-huh.
Maui was the sun in the sky for time.
Tangaroa.
Yeah, Tangaroa.
Tangaroa, is that your final answer?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. And your fourth and final regular round question from listener Abby B. How many hanging baskets of flowers and plants are in the Disneyland Resort? This is including both parks and the hotels and downtown Disney.
Wow.
First of all, I want to know where this number even came from.
Maybe they took the horticulture tour.
Oh, probably. I'm going to say...
I love that clearly somebody knows.
1,200. I feel like it's a lot.
1,200?
1,200. Now, are you... Okay, I have a question, Vern. A clarifying question.
Yeah.
Yes?
So, sometimes
there's two
on
on
a
one.
pole, there's, 2 baskets. Does that count as 2, or does that count as 1 because it's on the one pole? Or do you not know?
I was going to
from the
say, I was
question?
thinking higher.
That is not provided in
Okay, I'm just going to stick with 1,200.
question, and I don't recall from my own checking.
See, okay, so my first guess was astronomical, 10,000. So I'm going to scale it back since you only went
That's
1,200.
a lot.
Well, think of whenever we're told how many plants make up the Mickey
That's true.
floral and whatever. So I'm going to go with 5,000.
Okay. That seems like a good number.
Because it's the both parks.
All right,
plus
I'm sorry,
downtown
Teresa,
Disneyland
what was your
parks.
number?
5,000.
5,000. And Tag, you said
1,200?
1,200.
Sorry, my brain was thinking of The Price is Right. Where it's closest without going over.
Got it.
Yep. All right.
$1. There's one hanging basket in all of.
All righty. And your bonus question from listener Shanna D. We all know that the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh replaced Country Bear Jamboree in 2003. What did Country Bear Jamboree replace when it opened in 1972?
Oh. What?
I think back there was the Indian Village.
Yes. Yes.
Because I think, the question could be confusing because it sounds like it would be like in that same building.
Yeah.
But
no,
I
it was
think it's
that
just on
land.
the spot.
So that's your final answer, Indian Village.
Yeah.
Final answer.
All right. Well, listeners, how do you think they did? How did you do listening at home? Stick around until after the discussion and we can all find out together.
With the $5 meal deal at McDonald's, you pick a McDouble or a McChicken, then get a small fry, a small drink, and a 4-piece McNuggets. That's a lot of McDonald's for not a lot of money.
Price and participation may vary. For a limited time only.
Well, this week for our discussion topic, we thought we would commemorate the fact that as we record this 4 days prior to this, so September 20th, 2017, Teresa and I gathered together and recorded the very first episode of DL Weekly, and here we are, 356 episodes later. We thought we'd talk a little bit about where we've been, where we're going, kind of reintroduce ourselves to some listeners, because we have different listeners now than we probably did the last time we told our Disney stories and all of that good stuff. So we thought, why not share it again this week?
So it was we actually would have recorded earlier because it was the first episode posted.
Sure.
On the 20th. So I guess we don't have the official start date, but we have the official first episode date, which is super exciting. The thing that's crazy is if we would have interviewed ourselves back then, if we would have had the foresight to have done so, I think it would have been really fun to hear from 2017 Teresa and Tag our thoughts about DL Weekly and what we thought it was going to be. I will be very honest, I think I've shared this before. When Tag asked me to start a podcast with him, I said yes, which actually surprised Tag. He wasn't sure if I'd say yes or not.
I did not think you were going to say yes.
Genuinely did not I had never listened to a podcast really at that point. I didn't know why anybody would want to listen to us sitting in the Midwest talking about Disneyland. I had no expectations for this, but I said yes because why not? It sounded fun. And I guess I can share too that on a personal note, I had actually lost my best friend unexpectedly earlier that year. So DL Weekly kind of became an outlet for me to kind of focus my time and attention on something else to kind of help with my grieving process. So, and I think that's why that's kind of a part of the catalyst as to the timing as to why Tag approached me at that point in our lives. But anyways, I was in no place thinking that I didn't think anybody was going to listen. I'll be real honest. I thought this was just going to be us nerding out, talking in my dining room at that time, is where the first quote-unquote DL Weekly recording studio was around my dining room table.
Did we first record at your dining room table?
We sure did. If you go back and listen to that first episode, I think you can hear the fan.
Okay.
But yeah, so I had zero expectations. So I just remember the first time, when Tag's oh, we should start something. We should start a Patreon. And I'm like, yeah, what's that? And so he had to explain to me what Patreon was and how, people want to, just in case people want to support us. And I'm thinking, why would anyone want to support us monetarily? That's crazy. So I remember the thrill that was our first ever supporter, which I need to give a total shout out because our first ever supporter, Laura, is still a supporter to this day, which is wild beyond imagination. So kudos to Laura. You know who you are. And the other thing too, I remember the first time we got a $10 supporter, Tag had to talk me off of a ledge because I thought somebody made a mistake. And I was like, there's no way they meant $10. I'm sure they probably meant $1 and accidentally typed an extra zero. And Tag's like, that's not how it works. You don't type in your support. You have to click I'm like, but I did. I was panicking. I wanted to make sure that that we were honest with this person in case it was a mistake. So yeah, that was my mindset when we first started. It was a whole new world, and I was very, very naive.
Even back then, Teresa was overthinking things and worried about things and whatever. It was interesting because back when it started, it was Disneyland Weekly, which we changed at some point. I think I've got some. So what I did earlier today is I went through my photo album and I tried to find stuff to kind of commemorate or mark certain things that I thought was important or things that I saw in my photos. And I will tell you, so the way I did this was a little long. I went through and I literally typed in September 2017, October 2017, November 2017. I went through every single month looking for anything from those months. And I realized it was kind of interesting. I ran into things that I had done in my life that was not related to the podcast that I was like, we had just started the podcast when we did that. Like, I remember, like, one of the things that happened the very same month that we started the podcast, it was I had never been to the aquarium at the Mall of America before, and we had gone to the aquarium. I swear that was a different time of my life than that part, but I have photos with the dates on there, so that was interesting. But why? Okay, so before we get into the podcast, we should talk about kind of like our Disney story a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
our updated Disney story, because obviously it's changed.
Yeah. So why did, let's kind of start at the end and work back. Why did you say yes to a Disney podcast? Like, what brought you to being
Disneyland?
To being able to say, like, I know enough that I could talk about this?
So I think both of us were in the same boat where we just had this crazy passion for Disneyland, which in the Midwest is kind of unheard of. Most people are, if you're a Disney Parks fan, it's Walt Disney World, typically, if you're in the Midwest. So we were kind of an oddity. But there's just, as you all know, there's just something magical about Disneyland. Disneyland was not my first Disney park. My first Disney park was actually Walt Disney World, but I can vividly remember the first time I was at Disneyland, to the point that I was digging through old stuff, and apparently it wasn't quite like Tag's story, which I'll let him tell, but there were signs that this was going to be a thing because I was digging through old things. You know how you like have memory boxes of things that you kept that were important? I found receipts. Why I kept receipts from the first time I ever visited Disneyland, I don't know. But I kept receipts, and I'm very upset because my first ever trip was the year 2000, which happened to be a milestone anniversary year for the park, and I didn't even realize that I was in, like, an anniversary time, and I was even there in July. We weren't there July 17th, but yeah. Isn't that wild? But I have, like, receipts that say exactly what day we were there. I think that's so fun.
It's a little more exciting, though, I think, if you were there the next year, because that's when, like, the whole... I mean, you were there when the expansion was going on.
Yeah. I remember
California Adventure was being built.
Yep, I remember seeing, like, the big wall between, you know, where Disneyland was and where California Adventure will be.
Did you go up on the little... They had, like, a little...
No, I didn't know there was a view.
Platform.
I remember my dad went up there because that's something that he would totally be... Like, that's totally his thing, but I don't remember going up and looking. But yeah, I was there for the 45th anniversary and didn't even realize that I was there for the 45th. Maybe there was stuff, but, you know, right?
That was your first visit?
That was my first ever visit. I was in 6th grade.
I'm so much older than you. Because I was like, I went in 1989, which...
I was 1.
Yeah.
But you also lived in California.
That's true.
I was born and raised in Wisconsin, so it was a little bit more difficult for us to get out there.
My mom, it was a big deal for my mom. We were very low income. It was just my mom, single mom, us 3 boys. I'm the youngest of 3. She took me and one of my brothers, I think it was my oldest brother, and we went down to Disneyland. We would drive down in her pickup truck, which was the only pickup truck. It was an Isuzu Bandit, and it said Bandit on the side, and we called it the Bandit, which is why I went and all that. But we would drive, and she wore contacts at the time, and we would drive through Gilroy, where there's a lot of garlic. And I remember driving down there the first time, she'd have to pull over because her eyes were watering so much that, like, her contacts were getting weird, so she'd have to, like, wipe off her face and all that stuff. But she had spent months working with a travel agent to get this whole package together to take me to Disneyland for the first time with my brother. I want to say it was 1988. It was before Splash Mountain opened, so I think that was the first time was 88. We ended up going again in 89, but we definitely went before that. And we did the same thing every time we went with my mom in the late 80s, early 90s. It was the same deal. Vacation package through the Walt Disney Travel Company. It was early entry to get breakfast. It was stay at the Travel Lodge that is now where Tower of Terror, I think, or where Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout is now. And it was this big deal. We'd go in. We had breakfast that was provided for us during early entry at the Tomorrowland Terrace. as it was known back then. And it was just a great fun time. It was so different than it is now. We had a really great time. We went a couple times. And then me being the creative person that I was, I'd come home and use Model Railroad and try to rebuild the theme park. And we bought the soundtrack. And so I was playing that, all this stuff. And then fast forward a little bit. We got internet towards the end of the 90s, and we hadn't gone for a couple years. And so I was researching all the stuff with California Adventure being built and all of that. And then I went with my boyfriend at the time for his graduation gift. He wanted to go on a trip, and we decided to go to Disneyland. So we drove down. It was the first time, it was the furthest away we had ever been as young adults, away from our families by ourselves. We drove down and experienced California Adventure in Disneyland. And that's where it all started back up and got really bad because I ended up getting an annual pass and going with friends. And I worked in a job where I could have all types of time off, and it was easy. Yeah.
Let's see where you could get in your car and go. It's not as easy to get in your car and go now.
You would love it if we could just drive 6 hours to Disneyland.
Heck yes. Actually, Vern and I were just talking about this last night. I'm like, if I could just have a 4-hour drive to Disneyland, I would just fall over with happiness.
Well, just think about our listeners don't really know this, but we've been dealing with some budgetary things with the podcast, just trying to budget things out and be able to pay for things. We don't want to be in debt or any of that stuff. And if we didn't have to pay for exorbitant plane tickets now, I think it'd be a lot easier for us to go more often.
Yeah.
And we could go for weekends instead of because now it's because their plane tickets are double to triple what they were when we started the podcast. It would be so much easier for us to go more frequently for shorter amounts and make it feel like it was worth it.
Yeah.
So when we've gone down to Marceline, that's worth it because we just drive in the car and it's fairly inexpensive. It's just our time and it's less than half a day. So there you go. I do have a screenshot here that I was very proud of that on September 29th. So we first posted the episode on September 20th. On September 29th, we were the number 30th podcast when you searched for Disneyland, which I thought for being 9 days old, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Pretty amazing. I don't know how all the, how the algorithms and all that stuff works, but it's pretty surprising. I'm trying to remember at what point it finally dawned on me. I mean, sadly, it was probably a full year before I was like, oh wow, this is cool. People probably when we started our first chat server where we got to interact with fans more so, because otherwise what's podcasting? It's what we're doing right now. We're sitting in a studio by ourselves talking in microphones, and you're just kind of hoping that someone is going to pick up and listen and download the show when it goes live tomorrow. So that's, you don't get to interact with your audience. It's not it's a live show and we get feedback or anything like that. So we were talking about remember the first time we got an Apple iTunes review and all this stuff. So, and I think Tag even has them saved.
December 28th, 2017. We've tried many a Disneyland podcast, and these two are the best we found. They do a very good job of bringing the news and display great passion and love for Disney and the parks. They're also not annoying like most of the other shows out there. 5 stars. So thank you, OMG LOL 2004, for giving us that.
And I'm not sure if that was I don't know if that was the first ever one, but definitely one of the first. And I just remember in the beginning how much we took all of the different reviews to heart. Me, probably more so. I would get really worried about the negative reviews and really want, we were looking for that. We were looking for negative reviews with constructive criticism. Of course, not all negative reviews give constructive criticism. Sometimes they're just plain old just negative. So, but I remember trying to reach out to our listeners because it was really important to us that we were creating something that was worthwhile and something that was enjoyable for folks to listen to. Because obviously we can talk about Disneyland all day on our own, but when you're putting out something like a podcast, it needs to be it needs to be something your audience wants to hear as well. So, yeah. So anyway, so I
also want to say back in the day, we also used to do feedback episodes.
We did.
Looking back, it was very silly how we did it. We literally read every single piece of feedback we got, which I will say one thing. I did feel like we got a lot of feedback because of that. People were like, I want to hear my feedback read, so I will send in feedback. Because once we stopped reading feedback, we started getting way less feedback. Yeah, because we used to get emails and messages and everything.
That was the hard thing, was the only way. We won't point fingers as to whose idea it was for to do the feedback episodes. But that was really the only way that, because with something like Apple Podcasts, when you write those reviews, there's really no way for us to like react or respond or do anything with it. Just kind of exists. There's no way for us to kind of like say thank you, or, you know, if it was maybe something negative, ask for more information so that it's something that we could fix or whatever. So I do want to give a shout out, because we have, in the course of doing this, we have received, of course, because nobody's perfect, not even us, I know, shocker, but we have received, and I love when people do this, they'll email us when they notice something that's not quite jiving, you know, or if they have a question about the way we did something, instead of just blasting some negative, oh, they're terrible, we hate them. I love it when people reach out to us and we can have a conversation about it, because every time that that's happened, it's either something that we innocently didn't realize, or it was just a misunderstanding between what we were trying to convey and how it was received with that person. So I just love when people open it up for conversations instead.
Yeah, the feedback thing that was nice too was when we would get negative feedback, because we could read it and respond to it right away. Which, like you were saying, one of the problems with any podcast rating or even app ratings in a lot of ways, there's no way for us to like respond to that. So all they see is the one side. They don't see. It's not like when you go to like a hotel review site like a TripAdvisor and you see like my hotel stay was awful, and then like the hotel responds. Like, there is no way to do that on Apple reviews. So anyway, I thought you'd laugh at this. I was reading this review from somebody that we got within the first like 6 months of doing the show. And we always make fun of ourselves for this, so I thought this was really funny. They're great to listen to as they don't digress into useless banter and keep on topic. I'm like, well, at least we used to. Anyway.
At least we used to.
Yeah, I mean, we should just kind of go through some memorable times we've had.
I was going to say, are we going to go through like that stuff? Because I've got fun facts that I pulled.
Let's do some facts.
So, fun facts. I shared a couple of these on our social media posts today. So if you want a fun throwback photo, the first ever photo of Tag and I recording in one of our many DL Weekly spaces was actually our 1-year anniversary. So that was the photo that is shared on our social medias right now. I don't know. We haven't decided what the episode graphic's going to be. Perhaps that'll be this week's episode graphic. I digress. So one of the fun things was, because everybody's like, oh, you know, how many times have you been to Disneyland, or how many of this? So I did. I sat and counted how many.
How did you figure this out too?
I was a nerd like you and went back through photos.
Oh, okay.
So 15. We have done 15 vacations or podcast trips or whatever you want to call it. 15 trips that we have taken out to the Disneyland Resort since we started DL Weekly together. Does
this count your wedding?
Yes, this does, because you were there. So I counted that one. It wasn't an official podcast trip, but we were both there, so I counted it. I have done 2 additional trips without Tag. I'm sorry. I did invite him, in all fairness, but it just didn't work out that he was able to come. But yeah, that's just Disneyland. 15 Disneyland trips that we have been able to take together. I was not nerdy enough to then count how many days that meant that we were in the park, but 15. And like, just for an example, this year we did 3 trips. Each were a week long.
And last year we did 3 or 4?
3 trips last year.
Okay.
4 trips.
3, 6. So that's 10 right there.
Yeah.
Of course, we had the dark times where the park was closed.
We did.
And
the first time we went, there was just the one in 2019. And then we had 2 years of 4 trips, and then 2 years of 3 trips, I think is what it ended up being.
I want to laugh at this photo. So I did find a photo that I think I stole off of Vern's SnackChat of you two going to the park. This was the first trip that either of us had taken to the park after we started the podcast.
Yes.
And what was this?
That was... Oh, do you want to know what
was the trip?
The trip, we went out for Pixar Fest.
Okay.
We were riding Splash Mountain, and it was nighttime, so it was one of the few times that you can get a log completely to yourself, because it was chilly out, and I'm sure nobody else wanted to get wet.
And you weren't in the front or the back; you were in the middle.
No, they put us in the middle, which was nice, because then you didn't have as much of the splashing. But yeah, it was the like ride photo of Vern and I going down. I am like death gripping the seat in front of me, screaming in terror, while Vern is like holding his camera with his
cool
like
as a cucumber.
And this is like digital camera, not phone.
Yep.
Digital camera, not phone, with the like safety strap around his wrist in case he drops it. with his sunglasses on even. Mind you, it's nighttime. Just looking cool as a cucumber as I think, like, I look like we're falling to our deaths or something.
Yeah, you look like you're dying. I did have a photo from I want to say it's one of the first times we wrote thank you notes and sent out buttons and stuff to people who supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, could be.
So we had, this was at my house even.
It was. It's because the podcast studio was at. So the the OG podcast space was my dining room table. We then upgraded to Tag's basement, and we had actually 2 different setups in Tag's basement, like one on one side, and then we shifted it over to another side, and then eventually we moved to our current podcast space, which
I have
is
photos of all of this.
Which is it's a space in my finished attic that we've been calling home for the past few years now.
See, Teresa likes
at least since 2020, because that's when we painted the wall.
Teresa likes it being at her house because when it's at my house, she never knew when she would come over every week if it would be the same setup as it was the last time. Because
true.
I like to move things. I think I get it from my mom. But our first one, it was a glass-topped IKEA table.
Yep, which was not good because it made a lot of noise.
It made a lot of noise. We didn't have arms for the microphones. It was just these little stands that came with the microphones. We did have pop filters by the time the next June rolled around. And then I had pulled out a bunch of like old stuff that I had for a while, some like memorabilia stuff just to kind of have around. But we didn't really do video. We didn't do streams or anything at this point. We didn't have cameras or anything. It was just kind of there. Eventually we did. We did start to try a little at some point.
We had this brilliant idea that we were going to offer all these really cool, amazing perks, which were super fun. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
They were fun, but we didn't realize what we were getting ourselves into.
We've done this a number of times. We think that we can do things better and easier than reality will let us do. So this original perk was every quarter, I think it was. We used to redesign our logo a lot to be themed to whatever was happening. So we did
there was a
Pixar
Star Wars.
Fest, we did Star Wars,
there
we
was
did
a Haunted Mansion.
We did a bunch.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah. And we thought, let's make pins. Because it's expensive to buy 50 of a pin to like give them out to people.
Well, the other issue too was the quantity. We didn't need that. We needed a smaller quantity than what you could order. So it also just didn't make sense in that sense.
So we found stuff. One of our first craft jobs was we found online that you could use Shrinky Dinks and print it and shrink it down and then use some stuff to make it look like a pin and a little
Oh my gosh.
It didn't work out.
It did. We finally got it to go because that's what all of the pins ended up being, but it was a process to figure out exactly how to do this. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into those pins. So if you are one of the OG weekly tiers that still has some of those pins, we used to talk about it too because it was such a again, not something you think would be difficult, but it was difficult for us at least. But it was really fun. And actually, I miss that because it was really fun redesigning the logo every so often because it was just, we usually themed it around something that was going on. So like the Haunted Mansion was celebrating their 50th anniversary, I believe. And like Indiana Jones was celebrating some sort of milestone anniversary. Pixar Fest was going on. And we did like a generic just Halloween time one.
We did one that was Christmas that I thought turned out really well.
Yep. We did, what was Pixar Fest? Anyways, but we always tried to theme it to something important that was going on at the resort.
And it was something. Also, within our first year, or about the time of our first year, Concierge came on and became partnered with us, which we were shocked when this happened because we were like, "Oh, you want to what?"
First of all, you've heard of heard our podcast and what you want to be partners? Like that's incredible. So, and as you all know, we are still partnered to this day. Concierge is the official travel planners of DL Weekly. Just in that time span alone of our partnership with Concierge, the growth and changes that company has seen too is just incredible. When we first partnered with Concierge, it was 3 people. Now it's a whole big team of people just helping all the families live their best Disney vacation lives and just have amazing, amazing trips. So it's just wild. I'm going to slide in with another little fun fact before we go on. So in total, the podcast has gone to 3 Oogie Boogie Bashes together, 4 if we count the one that Teresa went for the first year.
I love how you're referring
own.
To yourself as the
third person. Yeah. So in total, DL Weekly has participated in 3 Oogie Boogie Bashes, 1 Star Wars night, and 1 Pride night now to round out our after hour events.
And the producers have gone to Star Wars night and
Pride night.
Pride night. Eventually, Oogie Boogie. That's
Eventually,
fingers
Oogie
crossed.
Boogie.
I found this when we were first working out our things like special logos for things. We were talking about monthly shout outs, charter supporters, people who had supported us the first. We had all these like ideas for these different things. And it was funny because when we started, I think both of us had the same thing. Well, like you were saying, you thought people were giving us the wrong like amounts. I thought, and I think you agreed, that we needed to have really good perks.
Yeah, we needed to like
because people are buying the perk, not supporting the show.
We needed to convince you, like make it so your membership was worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. We were able to join the D23 fan club right after that first part of the year too. So that was really cool. And then we also got our tickets for D23 Expo. I found a screenshot of it for 2019. We bought these. These went on sale super early because this was my reservation was successful. This was September 10th, 2018, and the expo was August 2019.
Wow.
So this was like way in advance.
Yeah, it was. Wow. So another fun fact real quick, since you brought up D23 Expo. We have gone to 3 D23 Expos, 4 Disney Anna events, and I'll just say that it's a half of a mouse meet since I went, but you weren't able to go yet.
And a half mouse meat.
And a half mouse meat. As well as
and a partridge and a pear
I'm just
tree.
going to lump this in there too. We've had 2 visits to Marceline, Missouri.
Yes.
As our time with DLW.
And we still have not made it to...
We will.
I've made it before we did the podcast to the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. We moved the podcast studio around again. I have a photo that we're looking at here.
Podcast space now number 3. That Tag has
and then there's a number 4 later on. But in that first year, somebody had sent us. They had waited in line and they had sent us. This is still one of the nicest gifts, I think, because they were pricey, if I remember right, that we had ever gotten.
Well, and in this photo, we were super thrilled because it's all DL Weekly supporter gifts. The ears were gifted to us by DL Weekly supporters, and the tiki mugs that you're talking about were also gifted to us by a different
It was the
DL
Hatbox
Weekly
Ghost
supporter. Yeah, the
tiki.
Hatbox Ghost. The first Hatbox Ghost tiki. And that same supporter, the next time the Hatbox Ghost tiki came to the Disneyland Resort, she just happened to... She has like the best luck when it comes to these tiki mug releases because she's not local and her trips just happen upon exactly when some of these cool tiki mug releases are happening. But she bought us the ornament version of the Hatbox Ghost tiki the second time he was at the Disneyland Resort. So shout out to her.
We've had some really amazing guests on the show over the time.
Oh my gosh.
I still can't believe that we had Dylan, who is the genie from Aladdin, on. That was amazing. I can't believe that we had Lynn and Ken from the Sweep Spot on because they have been... Like, I listened to them way before we started this podcast, so that was super cool. I have a screenshot here because we got retweeted on Twitter when we had Alex from Star Wars Explained to talk about Galaxy's Edge opening up. And the first book I think that got sent to us was Elbow Grease and Pixie Dust from Rand Boyd, who we had on, which was super cool. Teresa just went and grabbed a whole pile.
Yeah, these aren't even all of the books of all the different authors that we have had on the show. But one of our first authors was David Koenig. We also had Russell Flores from Seen Unseen Disneyland, David W. Smith, who wrote In the Shadow of the Matterhorn, Austin Carroll, who wrote Fast Pass to the Past, The Junior Historian's Guide to Disneyland, super great book. This one was funny. Wally Davis wrote Blue Vomit, Bare Bums, and A Bit of Magic. And then Don Ballard, who wrote books about the Disneyland hotel history. He was on, and fantastic. And then more recently, we had Jen Calonita, who wrote all sorts of different twisted tales, as well as...
Alexander Monier.
Yep, and then Alexander Monier was also on more recently, too. We've been so fortunate, and that's not even all of the Disney authors. I should have thought to,
come up with a list.
Come up with a list, or at least a number of, there's been this many authors, this many this many that.
I don't know about the numbers there, but I do want to look back because I think I went through all of our history in our guests list here. And I want to see, we had Marcy Carricker Smothers on.
Yes.
We had Bambi Moe on. Matt Mason was on, of course,
yes,
the
Matt
Nevada
Mason.
State poet. You said Don Ballard already. We've been very fortunate to have a lot of people like this on. We've also had some cast members on. We've had some former ambassadors on. We've had former custodial cast members on. We've had former
Jungle Cruise
skippers on. Just everything. We had Andy Mack, who does all of our voice work still on the podcast on, who was really cool. We had Devin on, who works for Disney. For finance, which was super cool.
Voice actor Vincent, who came on. Debbie and Steve, of course, from Designer Park Co. We had Nicolasa, who was the president at the time of the Disneyana fan club.
You can't forget our good friend Michael Vargo came on more recently.
Philander was on, and he was 3 episodes, one of our first ever 3-episode interview, because he's just a wealth of information.
Terry Hardin.
Former Imagineer Greg Combs and former Imagineer Mel McGowan, as well as, of course, Terry Hardin.
Rick Law we've had on, who's an artist and former cast member. Another artist, we had Eric Robeson on.
Yes.
He was amazing. So we've been very lucky to have Matthew Serrano,
it's
filmmaker,
been incredible,
who's been on. Yeah, so we've had lots of people. We've also had a lot of weekly tiers on, because there used to be a perk that we would randomly select weekly tiers to come on and talk, and we've met a lot of weekly tiers and had them on the show. In fact, I ran into a piece of feedback somebody sent us saying that it was worth the support price alone at the chance of being on the episode.
I also want to give a shout out real quick. We had Joan, who was the first Peter Pan at Disneyland, the first character Peter Pan at Disneyland, as well as our friend Evan, who is a current Disney designer and artist. Lots of cool people, but it's wild to me looking through all of the different folks that we've had on. Like we said, tons of different cast members. We kind of went through like Imagineers and authors by name, but that's like, we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
I should maybe do a post or something where I go through and like say, this many former cast, like kind of like lump them into groups just as far as who they are and everything, but just wild. And the thing that's also just incredible to me is former Disneyland ambassadors. We had Robin as well as Christopher. Anyways, I gotta stop looking at this. But other podcasters too. And the thing that's wild too is not only have these people come on and been on the show, we've created a lot of like lasting friendships with these folks as well, which is just absolutely priceless, as well as just lots and lots of what I like to call pinch me moments, because we're talking to these people. I'm like, I'm sorry, you designed the dragon under the Paris cast. Like, that's amazing. That's incredible. Or, oh, you helped design Downtown Disney and the whole thing is like set to be like a vine and the planters are leaf shaped. Yeah, it was. And the planters are leaf shaped and all this stuff is just amazing. The things that we've gotten to chat with these folks.
Our very first meetup was Saturday, August 24th at the Tongariro Terrace at 8 p.m. And I have a post here from people.
And that would have been 2019.
And you know what's crazy? There's at least 2 people who commented here that are still around. So Kate, who's one of our community managers,
as well
said
as
she was looking forward to it. Connie, Lynn from the Sweet Spot said he'll be there. So, I mean, it's really cool that we had so many people that, like, I'm surprised when I look back that I'm like, a lot of these people are still around and we still like talk with and interact with a lot. I also have this picture because that first D23, we came back with so much stuff that we had to buy this giant suitcase to fit it all in. And I remember just thinking how ridiculous it was.
In addition to our like checked bags, we had checked bags. Currently, we try to travel just with carry-ons.
Yeah.
But, oh no, this trip we had checked bags plus carry-ons plus the extra checked bag because we came home with so much stuff.
We've never done that again.
We have not. We've either gotten really creative, asked a local weekly tier if they could help us with shipping stuff back home or something. We've never traveled with quite that volume of
I found
stuff.
this photo and I feel like it was very premonition. It is Teresa standing in front of the ears wall at the World of Disney store.
So, super fun fact. Super fun
in 2019.
fact. I purchased my first pair of mini ears after we started the podcast.
Wow.
I had
You
producer
should count
Vern,
that. How many years do you have?
He was very helpful and confirmed this for me while we were recording the first part of the episode. I now currently own 59 pair of Disney branded ears. That is not including the looks like 25 different pairs of ears that All Enchanting Ears has sent us, whether they're the traditional like mini ear headband or they're really awesome 3D printed magnetic ears. But yeah, 59 official Disney sets of ears. You're part of the problem because you bought me one recently.
I did. I have this picture from you getting the Flex Passport.
That was my first ever annual pass. Look how excited I was.
What was the reason for, like, why? Because we didn't know we were coming back, right? And we had Catspur.
We ended up getting it for me because I was coming back the next month for Oogie Boogie Bash.
Right. But I did, at the time, I didn't think I was coming back because we had our first exchange student. I'm like, there's no way that we're going to be able to come back, which I think we ended up coming back at some point.
Yeah,
maybe
which
not.
me getting
No, it was COVID, so no.
we didn't. So me getting it at that point, I think with what the prices were, granted prices are way crazy higher. At that point, my 2 trips canceled out what the cost of the pass was versus we didn't know when you'd be back, and so we figured we'd just upgrade then.
I like this picture because this is also another premonition of Teresa. She's in the Lamplight Lounge pointing at the squirrel sign.
Yep.
And I'm like, yep, that's Teresa. And then I have this great photo from our first meetup.
Our first ever
let's see if I can remember people here. We had Richard and Laura and Richard's wife Katya and their daughter
little Penny.
And we have Ace and his wife Barb and Dave.
As well as Chrysanthi.
I saw this photo and I was like, Dave was at that first meetup?
He was.
Oh, and then I don't remember. Oh, I feel
Did you say Laura?
I did say Laura.
Yeah.
And we had DL Weekly shirts that first time, too. We were so good at the time. Every time we go to Disneyland at the Tongariro Terrace, I look at that corner and I think about this meetup.
Me too. We did a live stream from that corner once, too. I think we were feeling nostalgic and that booth just like pulled us in.
Yeah.
Oh, our first D23. This was such a funny story, which I'm sure we shared back in 2019 when we came back from our first D23 Expo. But we were in, and I even remember what the panel was. It was the Art of Costuming panel, archive stage, the best, obviously. But we're sitting there, and I look ahead, like 5 rows ahead of us, and I start freaking out. And I say, Tag, I think that's Tony Baxter. And he's like, looking, he's like, no, I don't think, because again, right, it's the back of someone's head. Every once in a while, maybe he turns his head and you get a profile. And I was convinced, I'm like, no, it's him. And I was so distracted by Tony Baxter potentially sitting a couple of rows ahead of us that I feel really bad. Thankfully, I've gone to a presentation on this book since then that I was distracted from the presentation. So I remembered he had done, like, there was a sign up that we had tried to get to do a meet and greet with signing with Tony at the D23 Expo. And we tried to get it. It was, of course, filled up before we could get it, but it was that same day. So I went sleuthing on the internet and found people that had done that and met him that day and taken their photo with him so I could confirm if it was the same outfit, if this person was wearing the same outfit.
Sure.
And that's how we determined that was how I got you to oh yeah, it is Tony. So we kind of hung out for a little, and at the end we just politely kind of went over to him and said hello. I remember being very starstruck.
You look starstruck in this photo a little bit. So do I. I look like my soul has left my body.
We were so excited.
It was cool.
I remember after that we're like, best weekend ever. It was chaotic. We didn't know what we were doing most of the time. There was a point in the weekend that it was like we were almost done with the weekend and we realized we hadn't even gotten to half of the show floor yet.
Yeah.
Like we were so lost that
we
first
had some $9
expo.
hot dogs.
Yeah, terrible $9 hot dogs that I'm sure everyone's heard about if you listen to those episodes. But this was like cherry on top. It was incredible.
I found this photo of you at the Oogie Boogie Bash where they did the Hitchhiking Ghost meet and greet. By the way, what happened to this shirt? You had a shirt that said, I hope this ride breaks down.
A weekly tier had that made just for me. This was actually not Oogie Boogie Bash.
Oh.
This was just a meet and greet that was happening in New Orleans Square with the Hitchhiking Ghost.
Cool.
It was in that space in between Pieces of 8.
Oh, sure.
And the Curio, the Curio shop?
Sure.
Curiosities or whatever.
Yeah.
It was that space
in that little
between.
courtyard, yeah.
Yep.
That's so cool. I had a picture of when we hit 100 patrons, which was super cool. I also have this photo that I sprawled out all of the stuff I got from the D23 Expo in one photo. That was also the trip I got my first lightsaber. We got all this stuff. It covered our entire huge bed.
The other thing, too, is a lot of those things I'm recognizing as gifts that people brought that first meetup, which I just remember being, like, just amazed that people, like, enjoyed what we did so much that they, like, brought fun little gifts to show their appreciation. It was just wild.
Look, our Christmas card photo from that year, us in these Mickey and Minnie
us in sweaters.
One of the first...
I guess we had different variations of the podcast space up here, too.
In March of 2020, March 10th, we were up here recording where we do now, but there was it was very different than it is now. But there was a whole setup. In fact, if you look, there's a stool that the monitor arm is clamped to that I'm like, what? But we had our recorder then because we had gotten that for
purchased,
D23.
Yep, we had purchased the recorder for D23.
That's when I was using the DSLR for our camera and everything. Man, so crazy. And then I have some pictures of Teresa like moving around trying to figure out live stream stuff. When COVID happened, I took this screenshot because we got a slew of new patrons during COVID because what else were people doing? When we got our first pin made, which I thought was cool, and then here's us painting in July of 2020. I thought it was earlier than that, but nope, it was July that we were painting. I had pictures too that I didn't put in here of us matching, like trying to take our logo and match paint swatches to it.
Which we didn't really do that great of a job, but hey, we love it.
It looks cool though.
It's pretty close. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about real quick was I did some more DL Weekly by the numbers, non-Disneyland specific things. The podcast has taken one trip to Walt Disney World, and we have individually each taken one, so a total of 2 Disney cruises.
Oh, yeah.
Which were the first Disney cruises for both of us.
And you've got one on the books.
And I've got one on the books.
I have a picture because it was the 50th anniversary of Disney World when COVID was going on.
That's
or
right.
they were painting it or getting ready for it.
They were getting ready for it.
So that was fun, and I guess that's where I stopped with photos. But
that's that.
But it's been really fun. We've met so many cool people.
Absolute wild ride. Like if I could go back in time and talk to Tag and Teresa in 2017 and like just give a glimpse of some of the things that we get to do and see and people that we get to meet and all the amazing relationships and friendships that we have created through this podcast that I was convinced nobody was going to listen to, and it was just going to be something fun and fancy free and who cares. Like, I think I would have fallen off the chair with how, like, my brain was processing the podcast stuff in the beginning there. I remember being scared to death to talk in the microphone. You can probably hear it if you dare go back and listen to our first ever episode. You can probably hear, like the fear in my voice because I was so nervous, which... when you think of it, it's kind of ridiculous because literally it was just you and me sitting at the kitchen table. What is there to be nervous about? But I remember being so nervous.
I don't even remember being at your kitchen table. This is the funny part. I know you do, but I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
But we've recorded a bunch of cool places. We've recorded on your porch. Mm-hmm. We've recorded in your backyard, I think. We've recorded in my basement, in your attic, in your living room.
I thought you were going to talk about like cool places like we've recorded at Disneyland.
No. Because everybody knows that. They hear that on the show. We talk about it. Yeah. We've recorded in, well, at least I vividly remember Vern and I sitting in line for a panel at D23 and recording. In line at D23. We recorded in line at D23 this past D23. We've recorded at the Pelican's Landing. We've recorded just
lots
sitting at a table. New Orleans Square, yep.
We sat next to the Rivers of America.
Where haven't we recorded in Disneyland?
I don't think we've recorded in Toontown. No, we have. We've recorded in Toontown. I don't think we've recorded a podcast episode in Batu.
I don't think so either.
Wait. No, we have. It was the far end of the... So if you're looking at the Millennium Falcon, it's the right side of the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yep. Because we sat in that back like little...
We've done Tomorrowland recently. Mm-hmm. It's DCA we haven't spent very much time recording in.
Yeah.
We'd recorded next to Goofy's Sky School once.
We should sit over... Oh, no, we've recorded over in Cars Land because I remember the racers going by. Yep,
I don't think we've done like in the Redwood area.
No.
Like by Grizzly Peak
Where
or
else?
anything.
Where are you going to do that, though?
There's cool little paths back.
Is there a place to sit?
We'll find one, Tag. We'll find one.
Okay. Yeah, so we've recorded a lot of cool places. We've recorded in D23, like you said. We've recorded at Disneyana. Have we recorded at Disneyana?
We have not recorded. I was just thinking about that. We haven't recorded at Marceline either. We did more recently update our microphones that make it way easier for us to be mobile. In fact, we have recorded while on the Haunted Mansion. That was actually a bonus episode that we just released for our supporters. We recorded like our reactions as we were going through Haunted Mansion Holiday, which give us a shout out if that's one you listened to and what you thought of, because I kind of think that'd be fun to do with other attractions as well. Because I don't know, experience an interaction with somebody is just different, right? I mean, we're not going to do it like on Space Mountain or something where things could go like or like
or
the
you can't even hear us anyway, because all you'd hear is Teresa screaming
laughing,
on that. Yeah,
laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was thinking about that because I don't think we recorded in Marceline, but we're more portable now. So maybe that'll be another thing we can start doing is like checking off fun places that we got to sit and record at.
Yeah.
But in total, it was really fun kind of going through all this stuff.
One more. Bucket list items we've done because of the podcast.
VIP tour.
Club 33.
In the same day, which I didn't even realize was going to be a bucket list item until we got to do it in the same day. Seriously, though.
So what are some bucket list items that you still want to do?
Oh, the crypt. The Haunted Mansion crypt, which no longer exists. That was another big Disney bucket list. We still have... I would love to ride the Lily Bell still.
Yep.
The Captain's...
Oh, the Wheelhouse.
The Wheelhouse.
Yep.
I have also not rode ever in the cone of the monorail.
I want to get back to that too.
Which, side note, the back is open now too.
I saw that.
So both are open. Disneyland specific. I think those are probably the only ones I can think of right now that are Disney, like the big Disneyland specific things. Never in a million years, which shout out to our hidden Mickeys that help make the VIP tour and our Club 33 experience happen. I still have to remind myself that day was real.
Yeah.
Because it was
I'd love to go back to Club
wild.
33 sometime because
It's
still need to see if there's some merch. You were able to buy merch. They didn't have it in my size.
Well, and then now that I follow all sorts of different accounts on social media, it has come to my attention that they frequently flip over their merchandise, and it's like, oh no, that's a whole different rabbit hole you could go down.
Yes,
and of course it's beautiful and it's gorgeous, but we were very fortunate. I still really cherish. We got a special VIP tour pin that was like a special Club 33 VIP tour pin, but it was also the 100th anniversary of the company.
Yeah,
so it was like
super cool,
triple special.
Yeah.
A, VIP tour pin. B, Club 33. C, the fact that it was only given out during the 100th anniversary year.
Now, people might ask about the future of the podcast, and I actually asked Teresa this a few months ago, and I said, don't freak out. I'm not planning on stopping doing the podcast or anything, but it just got to thinking, how long do you think we'll do this for? Like, do you think another few years, or do you think you'll be 90 and we'll still do it? She goes, I think we'll be 90 and still do it. I'm like, I don't know if I will do it till I'm 90, which I will hit a lot earlier than you will hit 90.
Podcast won't even be that'll be such a thing of the past when we're 90.
Maybe.
But it has. It's just become such a big part of our lives that, to me, I think I'd be confused if I didn't have DL Weekly.
Maybe. I will tell you the stuff that I wish would be a little bit different that would make it easier for me to do it till I was 90 is sometimes the cadence of every Tuesday we need to be here recording, or every Monday, every week, every Wednesday, a new episode has to come out, except for the holidays, which we've decided is our off time. And so for me, sometimes that's been difficult because it's I would really just like to have
I'm going to go to Europe for a summer, and you can do it all by yourself for a while.
Well, the good thing about doing it all by yourself is you can do it whenever you want.
Within reason.
Yeah, but I mean, when it's the two of us, we both it has to align. So me, when you're at work at your 9 to 5, I don't work 9 to 5. I'm a teacher. I have other things. I could record other times, but we have to wait and do it in the evening and stuff, because I know producer James would like us to move days because we don't get $5 movie Tuesdays anymore.
The other thing too, though, is our time zone versus our supporters' time zone, so we have to.
That's also
evenings
a struggle
make the most
for
sense
the streams and stuff. Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, I definitely wouldn't want to wake up and try to do it like in the morning or anything, because that would be awful.
I don't know. I think it's fun because we've made it into like a thing every week. So every week we get together ahead of the podcast recording. So we record the podcast at like 7 p.m. our time every Tuesday, sometimes on Mondays, depending if there's other stuff going on. For some reason, if you're wondering why Tuesdays, the news cycle. The news cycle seems to like it aligns best for us to record on Tuesdays because we were doing something different and then we were missing, like the news would come out the day. We still have that where the news comes out the day after. But sometimes on Mondays,
it's more likely to come out Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, sometimes it hasn't quite fully come out, or it's coming out on Monday that then doesn't give us enough time to go through it all to then put together the script and it just kind of became too compact. So if you're wondering why Tuesdays, that's the long skinny of it. But we've kind of made it into a thing because with Tag teaching now, instead of where he teaches and where he lives, I live in the middle. So instead of him leaving school to go home to then come right back, come halfway back, we started cooking. I'm trying to remember how long we've been doing this now. It's been a few years that we've been switching every other week. So like tonight, Tag cooked. Next week, Vern and I will cook, but we've also had fun with it where we've done some Disney recipes with our cooking. So, there's always something fun.
Tonight's wasn't a Disney recipe. But
every once in a while there's Disney recipes.
But the way it generally works is on the nights that James does trivia, those are Teresa Vern cook nights. And then on the nights that Vern does trivia, that's the Tag James cook night because we cook while they do, so it's like because they're prepping trivia usually while we're getting dinner ready and stuff like that. So
anyways, we went down a rabbit hole, which
I think people find it interesting though how we get it all done.
Back in 2017, we were much more on topic, according to that review that you read. But in total, we just want to give like the biggest, most sincere, heartfelt thank you to everyone, because if it wasn't for all of you listening and supporting us in all the different various ways, yes, support is Patreon, but it's also just listening each week. It's interacting with us on social media. It's using the various links from our partners. That's another way to support us too. There's just being here is like support in and of itself. If you watch our streams or watch any of the YouTube things that we sometimes occasionally put out as well, all of that, it just means the world to us. And it's just so precious. Your time, right? It's your time. It's so precious. You could be doing anything else, but you're listening to us nerd out about Disneyland, and hopefully that like you guys, I'm sure, must find fun and excitement, because otherwise why would you be listening? But it's just, I don't know, it's just really incredible when you actually like take a step back and think of what this started as versus what it kind of like evolved and morphed into is just really, really, truly something incredible and special.
I'm not as surprised about it as you are. The thing that I'm surprised about is the community that we've gotten with it. I didn't expect the community to grow up. Though. Yeah, but I mean, like, I think you're just surprised that everybody listened.
But we have like, I don't know what good podcast numbers are, but since we've started, which in all honesty, this is not an accurate number because we had switched platforms and we don't have that first section of numbers, but so it's even more than this, but I looked up what it's been so far to date. We've had over 1.58 million downloads for now 300. It was for 355 episodes,
and that doesn't count YouTube.
That's insane.
That doesn't count Patreon listens. That's just straight from the feed. Yep. That's like, I don't even know what that is. That's just mind-boggling. That's what that is. It's mind-boggling. Well, the fact that we talk about this all the time when we run into people in the park, we're like, there must be a lot of people listening because we run into all types of people in the park. Which we love. And like, what's the Venn diagram of us happening to be there at that moment, at that part of the park, and that person also being there and running into us and knowing us? Like, and that's trips that are not D23. That's trips that are not Disneyana or, the big, hardcore fan ones. So it's wild. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we hope to keep doing it for you for as long as we can, for sure. The holidays are quickly approaching, and we'll be sending out postcards again this year to all supporters at the $3 level and above If you are currently a supporter on Patreon, please log in and make sure that your address is up to date so that you get your card. If you'd like to get a postcard from us, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier to get on the list. We just wanted to put this out there. I know the holidays are still a little ways away, but I just wanted to get this out there for people to get things updated before.
Looks like we're coming in for a landing, gang. But please stay listening until trivia comes to a stop. And then you can walk to the nearest exit. Thanks for listening to the 8th wonder of the world, DL Weekly.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, where we're going to find out the answers to tonight's questions and how Teresa and Tag did and how you did listening at home.
Vern, I'm so confident, I think we already gave them the right answers.
I think honestly, you did pretty darn well tonight, although there were a couple that you were pretty far off on.
Oh, no.
Probably the planters.
He's like, there are
The
18
hanging baskets.
million planters. Sorry.
So, how about we find out together, shall we?
I suppose.
All right. Your first listener-submitted question from listener Stacia S. How many topiary animals and characters are at the Disneyland Resort? Tag said 8, and Teresa said 12. And as I said, I found conflicting reviews on this one, so I was going to give you a grace of up to 2. The correct answer that I was looking for was 22.
Whoa! Can you list them? Wow.
No, I closed that tab. I'm sorry.
Are they?
Wait, okay, here we are.
They're not just at Small World.
Okay, from the horticulture team, there are 21 topiaries at Disneyland Park, 1 topiary at Disney California Adventure, and 3 topiaries at the Disneyland Hotel.
Wow.
21 in Disneyland.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Next week, we will provide everyone with the locations of where these all are. That's like...
You're going to do that?
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if about half of those are just at Small World.
Wow. That's wild. I need to dig into this. I am so fascinated by this. I'll update everybody next week for sure.
I just did a search and every answer is Epcot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have the Food and Wine Fest with the really cool topiaries that you do there. Wow.
Your second listener-submitted question from listener Sarah P. The Wedway People Mover was not originally meant for Disneyland. What was the reason for its design? Both of you immediately answering the Ford Skyway at the 1964-65 World's Fair. I am giving you a correct on that answer.
Ooh.
The answer that I was looking for was for the experimental city of tomorrow, Walt's Epcot.
Oh.
Was the actual original reason for the design, but the original use of the design was at the World's Fair. So I'm giving you credit.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, but the original reason that Walt wanted it designed was that they were going to be using it at the experimental city of tomorrow. He wanted it to replace cars and be the way that people got around in the original concept of Epcot.
Very cool.
Yeah. So,
I knew that was a thing. I just didn't realize time-wise which came first. You know what I mean?
Your third regular round question from listener Kavei S. Which of the gods of the Enchanted Tiki Room is the father of all gods and goddesses, and he took the form of a tree? Both of you knowing right away that is Tangaroa.
Woo!
Well done on that
you
one.
reminded me that I knew this one from before.
This is what you said for the other thing, and it was wrong.
Yep, not Maui. Got it right this time. Well done.
Wow.
And your fourth and final regular round question from listener Abby B. How many hanging baskets of flowers and plants are in the Disneyland Resort? This is including both parks and the hotels and downtown Disney.
Whew.
Tag thought there were 1,200, and Teresa thought there were 5,000. The correct answer that I was looking for was 500.
Ooh.
We overshot that one.
Yeah, we did.
You have an inflated appreciation of hanging baskets.
Yes.
Well, I just feel like there's probably places that I had not thought of or considered that I was like, oh, there's probably some there. But 500 is still a lot of hanging baskets.
That is a heck of a lot of hanging baskets.
Yeah.
Okay. I need our topiary question person who gave us the topiary question, Vern.
Stacia S.
Stacia S. If you could please write in. I'm searching around for topiaries right now. I'm wondering if things like the square trees in front of the castle, if those count as topiaries, because it is a shaped bush.
Oh.
It's not a topiary in the sense of like it's shaped like an animal.
Sure.
I'm wondering if I want to know what all what the list. If you have the list, that would be even better. But if you don't have the list, maybe help guide me, because now I'm thinking like, oh, that could be a topiary. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because the only thing our brains went to was the animals in the area in front of Small World there. So, but now that I'm looking around at the map, I'm like, wait a minute. Those square trees could be topiaries. So there's there's other hidden topiaries, I'm sure, that we didn't realize. So, Stacia, point me in the right direction, please. I am so intrigued by this, and it's making me want to go on the horticulture tour that much more. This horticulture tour just looks amazing. I don't know if this was from that or not, but it's making me want to go on the tour. Okay, sorry, back to Trivia Land.
And your bonus question from tonight, from listener Shanna D. We all know that The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh replaced Country Bear Jamboree in 2003. What did Country Bear Jamboree replace when it opened in 1972? Both of you agreeing that it was Indian Village. The correct answer that I was looking for was the Indian Village. Well done.
Woohoo!
Good job, us.
Well, listeners, how did you do listening at home? How do you think Teresa and Tag did? Do you think you've got that perfect question that's going to really stump them next week? Well, if you'd like to hear your question asked on the air, feel free to send that in to us at dlweekly.net/trivia.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
And a special thank you to our editor, Sidel.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.
The $5 meal deal at McDonald's means you get to pick between a McDouble or a McChicken. Then get a small fry, a small drink, and a 4-piece McNuggets. That's a lot of McDonald's for not a lot of money. Get the $5 meal deal today.
Prices and participation may vary for a limited time only.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.